Hello, I am Mark Shapiro, music director of the Cecilia Chorus of New York, and I have the extraordinary honor of speaking at the United Nations with United Nations High Commissioner of Human Rights, Volker Türk. Thank you so much for taking this time to meet with me. I think you have many things on your plate, and I'm very honored.
I'm delighted to have this conversation with you, Mark.
Thank you. So the reason we're speaking is the Cecilia Chorus of New York on December 16th of this year is presenting the world premiere of a new cantata by Daron Hagen, which uses as its text articles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and quotations from human rights luminaries over history like Eleanor Roosevelt, Mahatma Gandhi, John Lewis, and many others. So this is a piece that is being premiered in Carnegie Hall. And the occasion for the premiere is that, as we see with this beautiful logo behind us, 2023 is the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. High Commissioner Türk is going to be at Carnegie Hall to introduce the concert from the stage. We are so honored that you are going to do that. And I think now I wanted to ask you to speak to our listeners about why a cantata like this would be important to you at such a time.
First of all, I'm really delighted that this is going to take place in New York on the 16th of December. It's not just a world premiere of this piece, it is also a world premiere of any cantata that has ever been written dedicated to human rights. So we are so excited. It is so important when the world is so divided and fragmented to actually come back to the foundation of what brings us all together as humanity. And with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that's the best document that we have had in all these years that can do that precisely. To pair it with music, to couple it with music is just the one thing that we all need. So it's really, I'm so excited about it.
Thank you. I think we are too. I want to share, as we've been rehearsing it and singing these words, the composer Daron Hagen has found beautiful music to say these things, and we get chills. And I think there is something about the power of music to help us hear the words. I know it's been true for me. I think it was true for Daron that as we've been reading the document, the music really brings it to fresh life for us.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your own history with the document, your awareness of it, how it's become foundational for you.
So first of all, I fully agree with you. We in our work always use language, of course, in order to persuade, to convince, to educate, to inspire. But when it's coupled with music, it actually goes to the emotional level where human rights are the most needed, because it heals, but it also brings forward this vision of transformation that societies need, and that has been the essence of human rights. On the personal front, I remember it very well. I was 15 years old. I was in my English class in Austria, and the topic was about education in different countries in the world, in the global south, and the realization that there are kids that, because of living in very marginalized conditions, would not be able to go to school every day. And it was explained against the background of the right to education and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And we all got a little leaflet of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in English, which I kept to this day, and I always have a copy of the Universal Declaration for Human Rights with me, because I sometimes read it because the text is just so inspiring and so beautiful, and we need to go back to its essence. So I actually encourage everyone to read the text, especially before the 16th of December.
Absolutely. I think, as you said, and Daron said the same thing, the text on its own is not only inspirational in terms of what we hope humanity can strive for, but the words are beautiful.
Yeah.
There is a real poetry in them.
It wasn't written by UN bureaucrats. It was written by real people out there who had just come out of, the cataclysmic events of 2 world wars, the Holocaust, genocide, atrocity crimes, and there was this never again sentiment, and this moment in history of never again, and that produced and generated this beautiful text.
Not to ambush you, but can you tell us anything about the crafting of the document itself, or how it came to be?
So well, first of all, the UN Charter itself, the United Nations Charter, already contained references to human rights as part of the purposes and principles of the UN. So the UN, often associated with peace and security and development as the third pillar, already in 1945 was human rights.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was this establishment of a commission on human rights, and Eleanor Roosevelt chaired it. And she, with a number of delegates from around the world, and it was, because sometimes it's seen as a Western thing, it was not at all Western. You had a delegate from China, you had a delegate from India, a woman delegate,
Mm-hmm.
you had from different countries, from Lebanon, from France, I mean from all countries around the world. And so they really discussed and went through this process of what is this Bill of Human Rights that we can create. And it was clear that first of all it's universal, and that there was no artificial distinction that we often hear today between civil and political rights on the one hand and economic, social and cultural rights. In fact, it was Eleanor Roosevelt who put forward the economic and social rights,
Mm-hmm.
because of, not least because of the Bill of Economic Rights that her husband, her late husband, had put forward in 1944. So it became a document that put forward a vision, a comprehensive, holistic vision of human rights that we forgot in this interim period, and where a lot of artificial distinctions were made that were actually not there at the time.
That's so interesting. Again, coming from somebody who is newer to the document and discovering it, I think also, I wanted to ask you about this. There's something about the phrase human rights where we hear it as multiple people, but in the way Daron has said it, it's also about the person. There is something fundamental for a single being that has really radiates through the piece and through now the way I understand the whole concept, which is kind of new to me, and I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yeah, no, it is. It brings us back to what is fundamentally human, and it endows the person with rights. And they started, of course, I mean, the human rights movement has long histories. It goes back to the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution. The Haitian Revolution was a revolution against slavery, against racism, against colonialism. Then you had the labor movement, you had feminism. And then the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was also part of the struggle against colonization. It was a fundamental document for decolonization process, for the anti-racism campaigns around the world, for LGBTIQ+ movements, for wherever, for Black Lives Matter, for climate activism and environmental activism. So whenever anti-apartheid struggle, very important, South Africa. So it actually produced a lot. It had huge impact on each and every one of us, because without it, frankly, our lives would be not very free.
I think that is a beautiful place to end our conversation. I'm so grateful to you. May I say Volker? Yes?
Of course.
Thank you, or High Commissioner. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you so
Shapiro,
much.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you very much.